It is a cold winter night, and Dave is driving home from work as he has done for the past 5 years, driving the same Ford Fiesta he's driven for 5 years, going the same route home that he has gone for 5 years. However, on the way, he notices a pothole, but he can't turn out of it fast enough, and he ends up hitting it. His tyres are completely destroyed, so he pulls into a monastery that happens to be on the side of the road. And when he gets out of the car, he looks at the damage, and he's like, yeah, I can't drive this night, I'm going to see if I can rest here. Anyway, so he goes into the monastery, and he's like, hello. He notices a monk and he asks, "Is it okay if I, stay here for the night just to grab some food, water, maybe rest a little bit?" And the monk is, yeah, that's all good, no worries. I'll also try and fix your car because I actually used to be a mechanic. Brilliant. Anyway, so Dave, yeah, he finds a room and he lies on the floor, not very comfortable, but he's not going to complain because it's very generous of the monk to let him in. So he lies there and he doesn't have a very good night's sleep, and he doesn't feel comfortable. But he hears a bunch of noises throughout the night. He hears the monk working on the car, you know, tirelessly for like hours at the night, feeling quite sad about it actually because it just put him through, just ruined his night kind of thing. But he also hears this really weird sound coming from below the floorboards. It's like a really otherworldly sound. He can't quite determine what it is, and it's quite muffled as well. And it goes throughout the entire night. So he's completely lost to what it is. Anyway, the morning rolls around, the sun rises from the horizon, and he gets up and he goes to this monk and he goes, "Hello, sir. Well, thank you for the amount of effort you've put into the night. I appreciate it. I'm going to pay you handsomely when I next get some money. However, I must ask, what was the sound from below the floorboards?" Anyway, the monk turns to him and says, I'm afraid I cannot tell you, for you are not a monk." Fair enough then. Anyway, so the man gets out, gets in his car, which is miraculously fixed. No idea how he's managed that. And he drives off. And unfortunately, he has a lot of business things going on, so he forgets about the monk and forgets to pay him, but no worries, the monk doesn't mind. Anyway, a couple of years go past, almost 2 or 3 years now, and he's driving home in his new Honda Civic. He's got a promotion at work, life's going great. He's driving home, and once again, it's a winter's day. It happens again. Same day as 2 years ago, quite odd. Anyway, he hits this pothole again, and then, the tyres all destroyed. I only got this car like a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, so he pulls into the monastery yet again, and he sees the monk, and he's like, "Oh, hello. You might remember me. I came here a couple of years ago. Is it okay if I rest here again? Maybe get some food, some water, same as last time? And I've actually got money now, so I can pay you." And the monk goes, "Oh, there's absolutely no need for that. I do this out of the goodness of my heart." Okay, brilliant. Anyway, so the man again goes to sleep. Very, very tired. Obviously, very long day at work. And again, the monk is working on the car throughout the entire night, tirelessly. Very, very grateful for that. But still, this noise is coming from below, and if anything, he thinks it's louder than last time. It seems a bit more prominent. It's there. He can hear it throughout the night, and he can't sleep as a result of it because he's constantly hearing this noise. Can't figure out what it is. Anyway, so he wakes up in the morning. Well, doesn't really wake up. He kind of gets out of bed, which is the floor. Anyway, he goes up to the monk and he's like, "Hello again. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really appreciate it. But again, I must ask, what on earth is that sound from below the floorboards?" Anyway, the monk is like, "I am sorry, sir, but I cannot tell you, for you are not a monk." At this point, Dave is quite, befuddled by this. He goes, "Okay, what do I have to do to become a monk?" Anyway, the monk turns to him and says, "In order to become a monk, you must, experience true patience and true determination. You must travel the entire world and tell me how many blades of grass there are in the world and how many trees there are. If you can do that, you are then going to become a monk, and I shall show you what the sound is." Anyway, Dave is so unbelievably driven at this point to find out what this sound is because it's nothing he's ever heard before. So he agrees to do it. So he spends all of his life savings on getting plane tickets, tools, food, everything he could think of to travel the entire world. He's going to be almost a world first, but not quite because obviously the monk had to do it himself. Anyway, so over the course of multiple years, it takes absolutely ages, as you can imagine. He travels from England to France to Germany to Mexico to Brazil to China. He goes across the entire world, counting every single blade of grass, hiring people to count the amount of trees there are, everything. He sees some amazing sights, goes to places he's never even dreamed of. Outside of just like England, which is quite, flat, not very, beautiful. He goes to really exotic places and he has the time of his life. But at the same time, he has moments where he wants to give up because he's in also not so nice places. He's struggling. He's like, how long is this going to take? But after the span of like 15, 20 years, he finally manages it. He knows exactly how many there are. So he goes back to this monastery. Takes him a while to find it, obviously to fly back. And he's like constantly, 2 million, 2 million, just trying to not forget the numbers. he's got it all written down anyway, but he just wants to absolutely make sure. Anyway, so he goes back to the monastery and he sees the monk. He says, "Hello, sir. I have done what you have asked. It has been 15, 20 years, and I have done it. There are 2 trillion, and he lists the amount of numbers of, blades of grass and trees there are. And the monk is like, well, I'm absolutely impressed, and, that's incredible. You've actually done it. You are now a monk. I can show you what the sound is." Anyway, so the monk goes over to the floorboards and, sort of pries them open, and there's a hidden passage. Anyway, so him and Dave go down this passage, and they come across a wooden door. Anyway, so Dave, is, allowed to open the door because he's now a monk, so he opens the door. Then there is a huge steel door. The monk grabs this, the key, opens up the door. Brilliant. Then he goes over, and then, he keeps finding more and more doors, each getting, more intricately, designed, older, a little bit more worn. Eventually, after like 15 or 20 doors, the sound is gradually getting louder, and he comes across this obsidian door. And you can kind of tell it's the last one because it's like twice the height of all the others. It's really, there's like 5 locks on it. And the sound is like really, really close now. Anyway, so Dave looks over to the monk. He's like, "Can I open this one?" And the monk's actually like, "No, you must pass one final test. You must, prove your patience and prove your self-control by waiting for an entire minute before you can open the door." Can we please just note? Yeah, might still wait a minute. Okay. The whole time it's getting louder and louder. He's like just absolutely going crazy, just waiting to know what it is, but he has to wait a minute. It's been like 40 seconds. Come on, this. Just come on, 10 seconds. Come on, we got it. 10 seconds. Just 5 seconds. Okay, it's been a minute. Can we please open? Yep, you've waited a minute. Okay, cool. So after this whole minute, Dave's finally waited, and he's finally travelled the world, done everything he needs to. So he goes over to this obsidian door, and he's given the first key, slots it in, unlocks it. As he unlocks it, the sound gets a little bit louder, maybe a couple of decibels, nothing too drastic. He grabs the second key from the monk, unlocks it, opens it up. Brilliant. Carries on doing it, and then his hand's absolutely trembling as he finally puts the final key in the lock. He's waited absolutely ages for this. He unlocks the door, opens it up. There's a small box on the table. He's very confused at this, so he walks over to the box, and he opens it up. And then there's another box inside, and then the monk says, "I need you, to know that this is." When you open this, you will see what the source of the sound is. The sound that's been, complete otherworldly, what's been confusing you all your life. Anyway, so Dave, is really shaking at this point because this is his life's work at this point. He opens the box, and do you want to know what the sound was? Well, I'm afraid you're not allowed to know because you're not a monk.